I just completed my first 12-week year cycle. Let's talk about how it went. Hey Dragonlings, welcome back to my channel. For those who are new here, my name is Skye. I'm a fantasy author who typically writes paranormal romance under the name SD Hegyes. And if you hear any noise in the background, it's my desktop computer. Usually I have her turned off for videos, but I was doing something on the computer before I started filming and I left it on, and she can get quite loud and noisy, so apologies if you can hear her. For this video, we're going to be talking about my last 12-week year cycle, my first 12-week year cycle. I don't know why I said it that way. If you are new, we read The 12-Week Year by Brian P. Moran and Michael Lennington back in November. And I did a craft symposium, which I will link down in the description below if you're interested in checking that out. But basically, in that discussion, I mentioned that I wanted to put basically their ideals to the test. And so I decided to do the 12-week year, which the entire premise of the 12-week year is planning 12 weeks as if that is an entire year. You want to make sure you're getting stuff done. You want to tackle all the tasks that will help you get your goals accomplished, basically. And doing so with the idea in mind that you can complete a year's worth of work in a 12-week cycle, because then you're not putting it off and putting it off and putting it off until it's all too late to do it. So that is the idea behind the 12-week year. And I decided I wanted to try this, and so on March 5th, I believe it, not March, January, I want to say it was January 5th, we began our first 12 weeks, and it ended March 29th. When we decided to do this, I originally created an Instagram group chat. However, that became really unruly really quickly, so I created a Discord channel, and we've been doing weekly planning sessions on Discord and chatting with each other about our goals and how they're going. It's been great. I have loved it. But let's back up a little bit and do a recap of everything that's going on. So the first thing is that I had 3 goals in which I wanted to accomplish. The first one being that I wanted to write, edit, and polish stories projects for a 2026-2027 release schedule. Second, I wanted to script, edit, and upload content for my YouTube channel. And then third, I wanted to declutter, organize, and pack in preparation for a July-August 2026 move from Montana to North Carolina. Some challenges that we faced while doing the 12-week year is the first is that it was a new system, a new planning system, a new way of doing things. There was a lot of challenges with that, getting used to it. I also personally had social media distractions in the fact that I'm in a group chat with my sisters on TikTok. And we tend to share a lot of videos back and forth and have discussions about different videos and stuff like that, which is not a problem. Except for then I continue scrolling all day long, which can be a problem. And before you say you could just delete TikTok off your phone, I can. You are absolutely correct. However, I do still like that communication with my sisters. And unfortunately, the desktop version of TikTok, which I would not stay on for very long because I do not like the way it works on desktop, does not have the group chat settings. So the group chat shows up on the mobile version, does not show up on the desktop version, and I don't know why. My theory, not that anyone asked for it, my theory is that they don't want you using the desktop version. They have a desktop version, but they don't want you using a desktop version. They want you using a mobile app version. And so there are some features that are available in the mobile app that are not available in the desktop app. So that's my theory. I can't prove it, but that is why I have TikTok on my phone and why I get sucked into it, even though I probably should not have it on my phone in the first place. C'est la vie. It's neither here nor there. Some other challenges is the fact that I overestimated time blocks for some tasks while underestimating time blocks for other tasks. We'll get into that in a little bit. So let's talk about some things that worked with the 12-week year. The first is that I have been doing a HB90 method for a while. And for those who are unaware, Sarah Cannon over on Heart Breathings does what she calls HB90. And it's a 90-day planning system, one for each quarter, which will last 90 days. And the idea with the HB90 method is that you make your goals, you break those goals down into tasks. During the craft symposium discussion, I did mention how alike these two systems are. The difference is that the 12-week year runs off of 12 weeks, which equates to about 84 days. And then the HB90 system runs for 90 days. The difference between the two is that with the HB90, a couple of weeks before the end of the quarter, you are planning for the next quarter, even though that quarter hasn't actually ended yet. With the 12-week year, it's only 12 weeks, which is 84 days, which means you have an extra week before the next 12-week cycle starts. And during that week, you evaluate what you did for the previous 12-week cycle and schedule what you're going to do for the next 12-week cycle. That is the biggest difference between the 12-week year and the HB90 method. And there was a lot of similarities, including the fact that one of the things that worked for me personally with the 12-week cycle was the time blocking. I don't know what it was about time blocking with the 12-week year versus time blocking with HB90, because HB90 mentions that. And part of the reason I wanted to try the 12-week year is because there were some things that just did not click for me with the HB90 system. And one of those was time blocking. And for some reason with the 12-week year, time blocking all of a sudden clicked and it worked beautifully. I was able to designate certain times for various tasks while I was still working. I am currently not working. But while I was still working a full-time job, I did writing and editing during my lunch break at work, and that was the only time I worked on it. YouTube comments I answered during Saturday night live streams, and then I filmed and edited videos for YouTube, both vlogs and videos, when I got home from work in the morning because I worked nights. Some other things that worked was that I had daily reminders of my goals. I had this Kanban board. At the time it was set up for just writing projects. It's a little more devoted to things now. We'll get into that. But the Kanban board was just for writing projects. I had Notion set up, which is why I'm looking down every once in a while. I'm looking at my Notion notes because my Notion was set up for YouTube. And then I had master to-do lists in various notebooks where I would just do a brain jump of all the tasks that I need to do, and I would mark them out with a pen or a Sharpie when I finished them. And then the final thing that worked with the 12-week cycle is the fact that we had weekly planning sessions. This was the core of the 12-week system, is that accountability every week, checking in with your group and discussing what worked and what didn't work and making plans for the future moving forward. That was like the heart and soul of the 12-week cycle. If you did nothing else, that was what they wanted you to do. And that was the thing that made it the best for me, honestly, was the weekly planning sessions. There were a couple weeks that we missed, but for the most part, I know I was able to accomplish them. Now, some things that hindered me with the 12-week cycle. Some things that just did not work. We had some vehicle problems. That's not unusual. We have an old truck. She's 20 years old this year. So, truck issues. I had some issues with decluttering and organizing things in our house. I stopped using the tracker. I made this whole document that I was using for weeks where I listed out my tasks for every week and I would mark them off as I finished them, and I would add the ones that I added in that I hadn't thought of when I made the weekly tasks, or like if I completed all of them I would add more anyways. And by week 7 I just stopped using that document completely. And I did notice a drop off on what I was actually able to accomplish when I stopped using that document. So that was bad. My bad. Another thing that happened is that I would get stuck on a task. I would think that a task would only take me so much time, and then something would happen that threw me off that schedule and it would take twice as long. There was a project that was only supposed to take 3 weeks to complete and it ended up taking like 7. Speaking of the same thing, there was tasks that took longer than originally planned. I already mentioned that. I had an issue with time management, going back to the distractions and the doom scrolling. I probably should have worried about other things, but I didn't. I paid attention to other things, and then in the same hand that it helped me, the weekly planning sessions also hindered me, not because of anyone else. It was purely because of me. Because if I couldn't make it to one of the planning sessions, I would feel guilty because then I discovered that I wasn't actually planning for the week. I was just dragging tasks down from the week before, whether they were accomplished or not. And that just did not work for me. So in the same vein that they helped me, they also hindered me in some ways. Changes moving forward. Some things that I would like to implement with my next 12-week cycle that starts on Monday. The first is that I have all of my goals listed on the Kanban board, not just one. So previously it was just my writing and publishing. Now it's both the goals that I'm going to be doing for this 12-week cycle. That's the other thing, is that I'm going to be doing 2 goals versus 3 goals. I'll come back around to that. But instead of just one goal on my Kanban board, instead of just writing and publishing, I've got all of my tasks that I would like to accomplish this quarter up there. And then the different colors are different projects or different categories in some cases. It varies. The other thing I want to do is I want to focus on 2 goals. I want to focus on the writing, editing, and publishing goal and the YouTube goal. So the goals themselves haven't changed, which means that I will write, edit, and polish stories for a 2026-2027 release schedule. And I will script, film, edit, and upload content for my YouTube channel. Those are my 2 goals. The reason the 3rd goal has changed is because thanks to the fact that I am not currently working and I currently am in the process of looking for a new job, we can't move financially. The way I had calculated our being able to move was based on me having a full-time income up until the day we moved, which now I don't. So that changes our plans. It'll be the same time next year, 2027. And because of that, I am dropping the declutter and organization goal, or the packing goal, I should say, from my plans, from my 12-week cycle. I still have tasks up here related to that with the decluttering and the organizing, but as far as like the packing and preparing for a move, that's not happening this year. That has been dropped. And so because of that, I only have 2 goals. And so moving forward, I have just the 2 goals versus 3. I have all of my tasks that I would like to do for the goals listed on my Kanban board. I want to continue doing the weekly planning sessions. Like I said, that was like the most helpful thing. That was the main point of succeeding with the 12-week cycle. Both in the book that they mentioned that if you do nothing else, this is what they want you to do, and in real life. I found that that's when I got the most work done, when I had planned everything I needed to do for the week with a accountability partner. I want to get better with time management. I want to stop doom scrolling so much, start actually working on various tasks. Those tasks don't necessarily have to be related to the 12-week year, but I want to be doing something as far as like a task from this board. And then the final thing is that I would like to get better with the weekly planning, not just from the sessions themselves, but actually planning. One of the things that I'm doing with this Kanban board is that the way most Kanban boards work is they have a to-do, doing, and done section. This is just to do. I have skipped the I've skipped the doing section. What I do is that I pull any tasks down at the beginning of the week that I want to work on, and I put them in my planner so that I can see when they're being worked on and see what I'm working with in a smaller capacity, but they can go around with me as I'm doing things. And then when I finish them, I'm putting them in this jar. So this is all of Q1 that I completed. And I have got some of my Q2 stuff already pulled down from this board and put into something else. Originally, I was using the HB90 planner. However, the HB90 planner is a like quarterly planner, and I need something for the full year because as I'm looking for another job, I am taking on freelance clients, but they're not always booking with me right now. Sometimes they're booking with me in the future. So I needed a place to write down all that information, as well as my daily tasks. This is a weekly and monthly calendar, and what I've been doing is I have been writing my to-do list, my daily to-do list on the daily tasks, and then marking them out with a highlighter if I complete them, or marking them out with a pen if they are canceled and scrapped, basically. So that's been really helpful. And the sticky notes that I are working on, or actively working on, are in here. So there you have it. That's how my first 12-week year cycle went, and how I will continue using it in the future with the tweaks that I'm making. If you've made it this far in the video, leave me some kind of clock emoji or a watch emoji. And my question for you today is, what was your biggest win for the month? Or your most epic fail? Let me know down in the comments, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye, Dragonlings.